Good day to you, scholars. Yes, scholars. That's what people would call you when you attended school many long years ago in the United States of America. Let's take a step back into history 100 years or more and see how children went to school. We'll discover what their schools were like, who their teachers were, and how the scholars learned their lessons. Schools of the past were called country schools or one-room schools, and they were exactly that. Tiny little buildings also called schoolhouses. You might find schoolhouses built in fields, off in the woods, on dirt roads, in the center of town, or even next to old cemeteries. But people tried to build their schools close to the center of where most people lived, so children could walk roughly the same distance to school each day. There were no buses in the early days, so sometimes children had to walk 2 miles or more each way to school. Our schoolhouses were made of many different materials depending on where you lived, and they came in many colors that the local people were able to decide for themselves. We often hear of the little red schoolhouse, but schools came in many colors. They could be white, or possibly yellow, sometimes blue, or even green, and they might even be unpainted if the town couldn't afford a couple of gallons of paint. They could be made of many different materials too. They could be made of wood, or brick, or stone, or logs, or even a hard-packed earth that was called sod. People in the West, in states like North and South Dakota, would cut bricks of sod from the dry grasslands and stack them up to make walls of the schoolhouse. This was used when there weren't many trees for wood or stone for building. Some schoolhouses even had an attachment called a bell tower, where the town fathers installed large iron bells. The teacher would go inside the schoolroom, pull on a rope to ring a bell and call the children to school. When they heard that bell, they hurried not to be late. Most schools only had a handbell to signal the start of the day. Schoolhouses of the past had some very interesting names. Imagine having a school that was named the Bellyache School, or the Snake Den School, or the Four Bear School. Even better, what if your school was called the Strange School? There was always a story behind the name. Sometimes they were named after the people who donated the land, or after some geographic feature close by, like a mountain, or a hill, or a river, or after something in nature. They might be named after a famous person, like the George Washington School, or an event that happened in the area. They might have names like the Big Rock School, or the Moon Hill School. And sometimes they were just numbered, like Schoolhouse number 5, or number 7, or number 10. How do you think that they got the name of the Beehive School, or the Broken Bone School, or the Last Chance School?